If you've been on the internet for quite a while, you might remember a somewhat famous conversation that basically says sharks are smooth, and a lot of people are jumping on the trend back then, whether arguing against or just riding on the meme. To be fair, a simple Google search will tell you that their skin is rough if you rub it from rear to front. However, some sharks are extra rough, and to add to that, they look kinda weird. So, let me bring up the question. What exactly is rough shark? Rough sharks are, of course, sharks. Depends on who you ask, rough shark might be a whole family or just some specific species of sharks. Rough sharks are classified in the Squaliformes order. Some people call this order the Dogfish sharks or simply just Dogfish, but those are just one family, Squalidae. There are various families in this order. One of them are the rough sharks, which is Oxynotidae. Oxys is the Greek word for sharp, and notos is the Greek word for back. So their name basically means sharp back because their back has sharp spines. More on this in the morphology section. There is only one genus of rough shark, which is Oxynotus. However, there are 5 extant species of rough sharks, or at least as far as I know. The relatively common Caribbean rough sharks, Oxynotus caribeus, which can be found in the western Atlantic Ocean, more specifically around the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico. Then there is the endangered angular rough shark, Oxynotus centrina, which can be found in the eastern slope of Atlantic Ocean. There is sailfin rough shark, Oxynotus paradoxus, which can be found in the northeast and east central Atlantic Ocean. The Japanese rough shark, Oxynotus japonicus, which can be found in Suruga Bay and Ensenada Sea in Japan, but recently also discovered in Taiwan, China, and apparently towards the Sulawesi island of Indonesia. Then, last but not least, prickly dogfish, Oxynotus brunniensis, which is not a dogfish by the way, it's a rough shark of course. They can be found offshore from southern Australia and around New Zealand. Why does this kinda looks like an airplane? Anyway, they are mostly benthic, which means they live near the bottom of the sea. Not to be confused with deep sea fish though. Bottom of the sea doesn't necessarily mean it's thousands of meters depth. They can mostly be found around the 150 to 400 meters depth, but can also be found deeper around the 1000 meters depth, or even shallower, up to 50 meters depth. Next, let's talk about their morphology. I'm gonna talk about the traits they share with most members of the Squaliformes order first. They have 5 small gill slits. They have 2 dorsal fins equipped with spines. They don't have anal fins. Now, let's talk about the traits of rough sharks. Their body is compressed and their first dorsal fin is located forward near their head, which is why they have a triangular cross-section. They have 2 large nostrils on the relatively blunt snout, and they have relatively thick lips with several folds, which is why they are sometimes called the pig-faced shark. They have relatively broad fins, including their tail fin, and of course, they have an exceptionally rough skin. Their denticles are prominent and can even be seen with naked eyes here and there, which kinda give them a furry look, so some people associate them with pig even more. It is what it is, I guess. They have a relatively big spiracle behind each eye. They have blade-like lower teeth and multiple rows of lanceolate upper teeth. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, characterizing sharks' teeth is important for identification because they vary a lot between species. This is exceptionally important to identify shark fossils because they are cartilaginous fish, so not much of their body will be fossilized. They are relatively small. Caribbean rough shark can grow up to 49 centimeters long, Japanese rough shark up to 65 centimeters, prickly dogfish up to 74 centimeters, sailfin rough shark up to 120 centimeters, and angular rough shark up to 150 centimeters, which is basically the average size of sharks. Their color is generally brown or blackish. Now, to close the morphology section, I would like to talk about their diagnostic characters. how to tell them apart. However, a disclaimer before that, most of these are based on proportions, and the available images on the internet couldn't exactly show that. However, there is a nice illustration provided in the 2002 publication that should easily shows their differences. I'm gonna tell you the TLDR version, but just in case some of you are curious about the exact diagnosis, I'll write it on the screen. So, to identify each species, you have to check their fins, and to some extent, their spiracles. Prickly dogfish have a spine of first dorsal fin that slopes forward, lower ratio of second dorsal fin versus second spine length, shorter interspace between the first and second dorsal fins, and circular spiracles. Caribbean roughshark have a spine of first dorsal fin that slopes forward, lower ratio of second dorsal fin versus second spine length, longer interspace between the first and second dorsal fins, higher ratio of first dorsal fin versus first spine length, and circular spiracles. Angular roughshark have a spine of first dorsal fin that slopes forward, lower ratio of second dorsal fin versus second spine length, longer interspace between the first and second dorsal fins, lower ratio of first dorsal fin versus first spine length, and vertically elongated spiracles. Sailfin roughshark have a spine of first dorsal fin that slopes backward, higher ratio of second dorsal fins versus second spine length, longer interspace between the first and second dorsal fins, and circular spiracles. And last, Japanese roughshark have a spine of first dorsal fin that slopes backward, higher ratio of second dorsal fin versus second spine length, shorter interspace between the first and second dorsal fins, and oval spiracles. If you want to know the exact numbers and range, I would suggest checking the published article because I don't want this video to be too long. Now, let's move on to their lifestyle and behavior. But before that, data on the lifestyle and behavior of roughsharks are relatively scarce. The one that I will talk about in this video is mostly from this research on the prickly dogfish. Like I said earlier, they are mostly benthic, so some people consider them demersal fishes. Demersal fish means fishes that live and feed near the bottom of a water body. They are lecithotrophic viviparous fish, which means neonate develop inside the body of the parents, but they have their own yolk reserve instead of directly connected with their mother. They most likely have a non-continuous reproductive cycle, which means there are periods of inactive follicle developments. Their gestation period is around 1 year. Like other sharks, males have claspers, and they serve to enter female cloaca and delivers the semen inside. Males are more abundant in shallower water, while females prefer deeper water. They are slow swimmers, which is why they are sometimes accidentally caught by trawls. Because they cannot dodge easily. Because of their small mouth, they are hypothesized to primarily eat worms or other small benthic animals by suction feeding. However, the research that I showed earlier detected some egg yolks and embryos in their stomach. After analyzing the DNA of those materials, they found out that prickly dogfishes like to eat chimeras' eggs and embryos. Oh, by the way, they have luminous organ, which is unusual among sharks. However, I don't think there is any images that shows their bioluminescence, or at least I couldn't find one, so just imagine it for now. Recently, a leucistic angular roughshark specimen was found in Albania, which is the first known case in the family. What's interesting is, it looks healthy and seems to be unaffected by its condition. That's interesting because, in theory, having a whitish color while living in the deep sea would be a disadvantage because it makes you more detectable by predators or even prey. In 2018, a specimen from Western Indian Ocean near Madagascar was found. This specimen was thought to be a distinct species from the 5 that we currently know. However, I don't think there have been any further development from this research, so we'll see. Like I said earlier, roughsharks are slow swimmers, which is why they are sometimes accidentally hauled. Their populations are decreasing because of this. The angular roughsharks are considered endangered, prickly dogfishes are near threatened, Sailfin rough sharks and Japanese rough sharks are vulnerable. Only Caribbean rough sharks are considered stable and least concerned. And if it's not obvious enough, their sightings are generally rare. Just try asking random people. Perhaps more than 70% wouldn't even know anything about rough sharks, which is quite unfortunate because they are one of the more interesting looking sharks. We still don't know much about them, but new discoveries are still happening. There are still some stuffs to solve about them, so who knows? Perhaps later this year we'll hear something new about them. But for now, let's just learn what is known. And that's all for now. Oh, by the way, I feel like other squaliforms are also less known by the public, like the lantern sharks, kitefin sharks, or even the relatively common sleeper shark. Anyway, enjoy your day.